Hej alla, välkomna till Hamlet BioPharmas juniversion, vårt investerarmöte som vi nu har en gång i månaden och tänkte fortsätta förstås efter sommaren också. Ni är väldigt välkomna.
Man ställer någon fråga till där finns det ändå liksom,
Hans, kan du stänga av ditt ljud?
med den.
Okay, tack. So I will switch to English. Welcome to Hamlet BioPharma and this June meeting, investors meeting. We really enjoy being in contact with you again and look forward to questions and discussions. It's raining outside in Malmö and Lund, and it's raining experiments and discoveries here. We are really in an extremely productive period where we develop things that we already know and where we also discover new things, of course. And for that, it's essential to also patent the new things that we discover, the molecules or the concepts. And so today we would like to introduce you to our patent attorney, the British firm that has worked with us for quite a long time, and the owner and head of that company, Rachel Wells. So Rachel, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. It's lovely to be part of this meeting. Really nice to be able to connect with all of you. My intention today is just to do a very quick introduction to my company and to myself, and also to talk a little bit about the patent portfolio that Hamlet has and how we go about protecting the various inventions. So starting off with the company, my company is called Greaves Brewster. We're based in the southwest of England in a lovely place called Cheddar, surrounded by gorgeous countryside. I'm actually based in our London office though. I like being up here amongst all of the crazy city, but it's very nice to get out into the countryside as well. Our firm specializes particularly in life sciences and chemistry technology. And as Katarina mentioned, we've been working with the team for a good number of years now, under a number of guises, but I think it's been over 15, probably heading towards 20 years of working together. And it's lovely to do so. I really enjoy working on the portfolio. Personally, I've been doing this for 25 years. My background is in veterinary medicine, and I specialize in life sciences technology, particularly in new pharmaceutical uses. And so the sort of work that the team is doing is exactly what I like to be dealing with on a daily basis. It's great fun. Turning to the portfolio and how we handle it, as I said, we've been working together on this for a very long time. And actually, there's a really significantly established portfolio of cases. It's really quite impressive. We have cases relating to the original technology around the compositions of complexes that are really at the heart of what Hamlet is doing. A lot of these cases have been filed some time ago, but we have protection over the complexes extending out to around 2030 at least. There is an opportunity to extend that by at least another 5 years. And that's granted protection in a good number of countries across Europe. I think it's something like 12, 13 countries across Europe, in the US, and in other countries around the world, which is fantastic. Beyond that original protection, a lot of work has been done to extend and develop the portfolio. So there are also quite a number of cases around more specific aspects of the complexes and the molecules. So shorter versions of the peptides, particular cases around how the complexes are produced and how the formulations might be put together. This is a really good way of extending the protection, so keeping that protection going for a good number of years, and certainly on some of the newer cases, there's protection out until early 2040s, which is fantastic. Beyond that, there's an awful lot of protection around how the complexes are used. So we've got a significant number of cases on things like particular uses of the complexes for treatment of cancers, whether that's specific cancers or more generally. We've also got cases around prophylactic use of the complexes in cancer therapy, and some really nice cases around things like nutraceuticals and other uses in that sort of field. Again, protection across the world in countries like the US, Europe, Australia, Canada, Japan, India, the list goes on. So it's a strong portfolio, which is really nice to see. I think one thing to flag is that a lot of these cases are granted already. And one of the things I should say about the way that we look at these portfolios is, well, we do try and get things granted and we try to find out what we can actually get for the cases. We also like to keep our options open. So in most territories where we have granted cases, we've also got divisional filings, which allow us to develop the portfolio even further based on those original cases. Moving forward, I think we see new findings coming through, again, in further uses of the particular complexes. We're getting more and more information out. I have calls with the team regularly, and they tell me about all of the exciting things they're doing. Just as Katerina was saying, there's really developments raining down. The way we approach this is we tend to have fairly regular meetings, whether it's by telephone or I come out to Sweden to see the team. We sit down, go through the new developments and really try to decide what's worth protecting and what is something that's actually already covered by the existing cases. So it's a matter of thinking carefully about how the budget on IP is used. IP, particularly patents, can get quite expensive. So it's important to make sure that the budget is being focused on the right cases, but also making sure that we're getting the broadest protection possible for things that really could turn into incredible inventions. We tend to try and combine inventions, so we get fairly broad protection out of one family of cases. That can be quite an interesting way of using the budget quite sensibly. And so we have some fairly significant cases around new uses, particularly in cancer therapies and in metabolic treatments. So all quite interesting stuff that we can continue to work on. We try to be relatively streamlined with our prosecution of the cases, so keep things fairly efficient. Again, lots of communication between myself and the team, and really getting a good understanding of the technology so we know what's available for protection and what we can do with it. In terms of territories, again, we try to be fairly sensible about where we protect. We get good broad protection in territories like the US and Europe. Country-wise, China has become more and more important, and we have newer cases covering lots of things happening in China. So that's fantastic. That's been very, very productive recently. Other Asian countries that have been covered include Japan, South Korea, and Singapore. Again, being thoughtful per case about where it's important to cover each thing. The AI models that you're going to hear about in a bit have been incredibly interesting to work on. They present some hurdles for patenting, certainly, but actually I think the team is using the new technology that's coming through incredibly well. They're coming up with really clear information very quickly that's allowing us to really develop the portfolio even further, getting a really good understanding of how the various molecules that we're working on work and what their potential interactions are. And this is allowing things to be developed much more quickly. I think we'll certainly see some new filings this year. We've already filed a few things on the technology that Ines is going to talk to you about. So that's been incredibly interesting. Does anyone have any questions on the portfolio? I'm happy to talk about details if anyone has anything they'd like to ask.
While you gather your thoughts, just some comments on how it is to work with you. I know for many companies, it's to get a patent in place is a long process, and there is communication and so on. I think your turnaround time, when we discover something, we immediately talk about it, about the patentability, as you say, and then we send over our early findings, early materials, and you can translate that into a patent text in absolutely no time, which I think is another one of the huge advantages over the years, the flexibility of our collaboration. And also there's been a system that's been very useful for us, which is to really patent early. So yes, the discovery is made and we have our discussion, you can initiate a patent process and we can file a very early case. And then we build on that case during the months that one is allowed to enrich the case with new findings. And we can also patent if we have additional discoveries around the same case, we can make additional patents to expand it, just like you said. But this has been an extremely positive and also very safe process. to really keep our discoveries under wrap patent-wise.
Thank you. That's exactly what we try to do, and certainly I'm very happy to hear that you're pleased with our turnaround time. I think the information that we get from you is always excellent, so it's nice and easy to work with, frankly. And I think we've got a good system in place where a lot of what we do in the patents we all know very, very well. So we're able to put those documents together nice and quickly. And yeah, the really clear communication between the teams, I think, is absolutely crucial. So yeah.
As you have you have the history as well as the future in your hands.
Absolutely. I was just looking before the meeting, I was having a quick flick through our portfolio reports, and it always surprises me whenever I do just how many cases we've got going. It's even just in Hamlet's name, it's in excess of sort of 60, 70 cases, which is incredibly impressive, and across the portfolio, comfortably more than 100, which I think for where you are is fantastic, and it really does show that there's a huge amount of work gone into building a really safe and structured portfolio.
I mean, also in the lab, any of the scientists who makes a discovery is obviously the first name author on the new patent. And recently, students who've been doing their master's work have made discoveries that entitle them to becoming authors on a patent, which I think is not very usual in bigger organizations. So literally, the individual can follow the patents as well as their development of their own project over time.
Det är ju Ahmed som ska prata med mig, men Emma kan kanske inte vet vad det är. Så
nu har jag Kenneth och Ronny. Vill ni ställa frågor? Hallå? Är det någon av er i publiken, någon av er investerare som skulle vilja ställa några ytterligare frågor? Ni kan gärna fråga på svenska om ni hellre vill det. Så kan jag översätta för Rachel. Några ytterligare frågor? How many cases do we have at the moment? We say over 60, but
let me you can maybe check. Hit me on the spot now. Hang on.
We don't need to do that.
In the name of Hamlet, there are 8 families, and there are at least, in the ones that aren't granted, there are at least 6 cases, because they're and the ones that are granted, it's more like 20. So when I say over 60, we are heading up towards 100. Certainly in the name of Hamlet. Yeah,
that's good. That's good to know. 100 would be a good number.
Yeah, I'm confident it's 100 across the portfolio, so don't worry. I think there was just a question about what makes China and Asia so interesting. Do you want to comment from a business point of view, and I can comment from a patent point of view?
If you start with the patent point of view, I can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's useful to be able to protect in territories where we think there's a significant market, or we think there's a significant opportunity for somebody to copy and produce what you're doing to then flood into other markets. I think China has been a particular area of interest more recently. Obviously, the size of the market is really significant. There's also a history, potentially, I might say, in China of products being developed there that then come into other markets. I would say the shift in direction towards protection in China probably started to happen around 15 years ago. Up to about then, it was really felt that actually it was quite difficult to enforce any rights there, but it's become more and more sensible to obtain protection and easy to obtain protection, and then to do something about people copying if necessary.
There is a Christer Neumann. Kan du bara stänga av ljudet? Tack.
I think also there are very significant research groups in other jurisdictions in Asia, and I think that's been, Singapore particularly is one that's popped up a few times. There's quite a bit going on there in related technologies, and so again, worth having some protection. We don't take every case forward in every jurisdiction in Asia that we cover. We try and make sure that we're just getting sensible protection by mapping a number of cases together. I think somebody also just asked about have there been any significant patent conflicts? Not yet. I'm just going to leave it like that. We've been lucky in as much as we haven't had any opposition to any patent rights so far, but it wouldn't surprise me if, you know, as things progress, I'm sure once you get even further down the road towards marketing authorization, other people will start to get more and more interested in the patent portfolio, and actually having granted rights rather than rights that are coming through puts you in a much stronger position should any of those conflicts arise. Katarina, did you want to add on either of those points?
No, I think it's been a balancing act, but we are very aware of the importance of Asia and the Asian markets in terms of covering them as well as we can with the patent protection under your guidance. I think there's another question.
Yeah. Let me just have a look at that. From the business perspective, are the company most interested in potentially selling patent rights for certain regions or worldwide? So
maybe I should comment. I think as we have said numerous times, our strategy is to find suitable partners. And obviously it's of interest for the company that those partners have as much muscle financially and also as much global coverage as possible. But we do have very, very experienced legal assistants on board in the company. Many of you know Jan Zetterberg, who worked on these types of questions for AstraZeneca for many years. And he is well versed in both covering large territories, but also splitting territories, depending on who we will end up talking to. But certainly it's a very valid question.
I think I can probably jump in as well and say something about the patent strategy on that front. When we draft the applications and when we take patents through to grants, one of the things we think quite carefully about is what aspects of that particular technology might be either licensed or sold to other parties, and can they be hived off in terms of patents. So sometimes we have a number of inventions in a particular application all combined because it makes the initial filing costs and the early prosecution costs much lower, which for a company like Hamlet and the related companies is quite important. However, when you get to the point of grant, it's ideal if you're seeking partners in different territories, if you have the different inventions in different patents, so that you can license a patent in its entirety, or indeed sell particular patent rights if you wanted to do that. And we think quite carefully about that when we're putting cases together. So we make sure that those things can be divided out down the line, whether it's by jurisdiction or whether it's by particular field of technology. And we ensure that that leaves all of those potential opportunities open.
Thank you, Rachel. Was that the last question? Are you seeing another question there?
I can't see any more questions. Oh, yep.
Thank you. So great to see you, and thanks so much for describing our collaboration and for continuing to be there for Hamlet BioPharma.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'll speak to you all soon.
Yes.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.